Well, hello. This should be an interesting one, especially because I got asked a very interesting question from Romans 12:2, the guy who's done a review of my book. And I see there's 4 of you here. But, as they say, in vino veritas. So I'm going to give you the whole hog. Hello, Chad. One of my favorite social galaxians, Chad. I think I'm following Chad, but Chad, you should be on Telegram if you're not. So, Romans 12:12 is a channel. Now, if I've done this right, and my technological skills are limited to the two-handed sword and the katana, but if I've done this right, you should have the link to his review of this brilliant, handsome author who wrote this amazing book right there. So his review of this book here, Reclaiming the Catholic Church, which you can find on Amazon. Now, I've got to say a couple of things right off the bat. Romans 12:12 did half a review originally, and then this review is quite funny. I mean, the first couple of minutes just cracked me up. It literally made me laugh out loud. Because, he talks about himself saying, oh, I haven't finished it, and then he slows it down, and then he takes a snippet of me on, I don't know if it was the last review or the last video or the one before that, where I basically said, yeah, you should finish books before you review them. And he's like, I'm sorry. I think he's apologized enough that, it works as he's done his mea culpa, self-whipped, and your apology is accepted. Unfortunately, although I believe him that he's read every single page of the book, he still makes a couple of mistakes. He says that the whole book is about Canon 188.4, and if you've done something heretic, that's it, you're done, you're a heretic. No, it's not. If you've done some heresy, then you're a heretic forever and no recourse to anybody. No, that's not what Canon 188.4 says. It says if you publicly renounce the Catholic faith by being, for example, a pertinacious heretic in a public and notorious way, that is the full measure of what you need to do in order to be considered a heretic no matter what. And hello, Romans 12:12. So yeah, that was one little bit there. And then one other thing which I shouted at the screen when I heard you say that, Giuseppe puts his opinions in the book. No. I do not put my opinions. I put the factual issues that are in the Vatican II documents. I put the factual issues of what the Pio-Benedictine canon law is. I put the factual issues of what happened in history. My opinion in this book is very much limited to my take on these facts, if you like. So it's not my opinion as such. I give more of my opinion on how to deal with heretics, like J. Dyer, or J. Dyer as he likes to call himself, or John Salza, who's a Freemason, or even Anne Barnhart, who is unfortunately slightly egomaniac. But she means well, I think. I like Anne Barnhart, despite the fact that she's gone off the rails a little bit with the whole Razzi the Nazis, the real Pope. But yeah, overall, a good review, I'd say. It's a fair review. I didn't realize that Romans 12:12 is unfortunately a filthy heretic of non-denominational Christian, one of these milquetoast kind of lukewarm. You know what happens to lukewarm people, right? It tells you in the Bible, be hot or be cold. For if you're lukewarm, I shall vomit you out. That's God saying he will vomit you out of his mouth. So I'm just saying, Romans 12:12, pick a side. But overall, no, good review. I'm ready to have my back whipped. No, you did good. You did good. I mean, you are a millennial. I'm quite impressed that you read through the whole thing without getting a brain aneurysm. And he did say some very nice things. He also said that Believe should be the introduction to this book. He is quite right. You know, Believe is for the millennials. Believe is like 98 pages. It takes you a couple of hours to read it if you're a bit slow and you have to use your finger to keep track. This is 530 pages for people who can actually read and think and stuff like that. But yeah, overall a good review. There's also recently on Social Galactic been a whole huge drama because there's been this idiot calls himself Durandal, and I will post all the stuff on the blog because the thing where I took him to pieces is being deleted by the mods, I think, has been deleted or will be deleted very shortly, whatever. Because they said, it was, I think, one of the longest threads in Social Galactic. It had like 300 comments or whatever. And basically this guy, I'd blocked him, but he kept sniping at me, from behind the block. And, people tell me stuff of, well, a lot of people like follow what I do and whatever. They send me emails and stuff. Slap Weasel says, what drama? I think it went all the way to Vox. So I'm probably adding to the drama now with this video. Because the question that Romans 12:12 asked relates to this. That's why I'm telling you this. Because, this Durandal guy accused me of wanting to murder other Christians, which is a lie. The guy is an outrageous liar. I will put all the screen caps of his own nonsense in the blog post. I've screen captured the whole point of what he just continually lies, and it's a very clear lying. It's very intentional, and it's designed to try and get people to turn against the sedeprivationists as a group, and if you can't do that, at least to people to turn against me. And the thing about these Protestants is quite funny. They get really upset by the fact that I tell them that, as far as I'm concerned, they're not Christian at all. They're heretics. And in the Kurganate, the hypothetical Kurganate, if I become emperor of Europe, anybody who preaches heresy, pertinaciously and continuously, and he would be given, he would get the Inquisition knocking at his door, says, hey, we've got videos of you here saying that, Catholics worship Mary or some other bullshit like that. So here's your two options. Either you get on your knees, beg for mercy, and apologize publicly right now, live, on TV, or you carry on saying that shit and we burn you at the stake. Those are your options. Now, if you want to live in the Kurganate, that is going to be the law. And absolutely, I'm 100% serious on that. Now, does that mean that I want to murder other Christians? No. First of all, because if you're a heretic, you're not a Christian. And secondly, you can believe whatever the hell you like in the Kurganate. You can be a Muslim that, in the privacy of his own home, prays to Mecca 5 times a day. I don't care. But the minute you start to try and erect a mosque, no. The minute you start to try and preach that Allah was the only one true God, no. And guess what? You want to do that shit? You can go to Saudi Arabia. Also, guess what? If I try and go to Saudi Arabia and try to open a Catholic church, guess what happens to me? They cut my head off. If I go in there with a Bible, guess what happens to me? Not funny. Yeah? Good fences make for good neighbors. So, if I ever do become the emperor of the Kurganate, and you want to preach your Protestant heresy, stay the fuck away. Otherwise, you would be burnt at the stake. Now, I am not currently the emperor of anything, unfortunately, but I'm working on it. And I follow the laws of the land in which I find myself, until I'm emperor, and then I can change the laws. But there it is, and those are absolutely my hardcore beliefs. Now, a bunch of Protestants whine because, but I am your brother. How can you? No, you're not. You're a Protestant. You're a filthy heretic, and you do not deserve to, be occupying the same space as people that are Catholic, i.e., Christians. Now, it is absolutely very clear what happens if you do allow these filthy heretics to preach their nonsense. You end up getting the transgender bishop. This is not a joke. There is I haven't set this up. You know how I do my streams. I just go on and talk. There are screen captures I have somewhere on Social Galactic. I put them up. The one true church of Protestantism. Yeah, where you've got LGBTQ pedophiles saying that they're priests. You've got the first transgender bishop of one of the 40,000 denominations of fake Christianity. It's absolute bullshit. Okay, and how does that start? Let me ask you a simple question. How much sewage are you going to accept in your ice cream before you stop eating it? Because that's what it is. The minute you allow a heretic to go around preaching his heresy, guess what? It becomes all a giant ball of tranny bullshit. Do we know for a fact that proper Catholicism creates the best civilization ever known to man? Yes, we do. Catholicism created Western civilization. By and large, Western civilization was created by Catholics. It was not created by Protestants, who didn't even exist until about 500 years ago. It certainly was not created by the Orthodox, who, insular cowards that they are, didn't even protect their own lands, asked the Catholics to come and help them. The Catholics did, and took the land back, and kept it for 200 years while saying, hey guys, this is your land, can you just take it back, because we're having to have people send money from overseas, from Catholic land, for us to protect your shit that you didn't look after, and every time we've helped you, you've backstabbed us, joined with the Muslims to attack us as well. So the third time, after the third time you did it, the fourth time we sacked Constantinople. And I think they were extremely patient and extremely kind and extremely docile Catholics. Because the first time you backstabbed me after I've come to help you, I would have razed Constantinople to the ground and salted the earth. Now you might say I'm not a very nice man, but guess what? If I'd been alive in 1096 and been a Crusader king or one of those, and I didn't, get shot by an arrow dead, we'd probably still have Catholicism, because we would have just carried on after we erased Constantinople. Now, some people take objection to that because they think, oh, but you don't recognize it. There are people like Lord Mountbanks, that idiot that there's a post on my blog, something like another one for the Kurgan wood chipper. And there's going to be another one, this Durandal guy. Most of these guys are just like scorned women. But I am a Christian and you need to recognize me. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, you are not a Christian. No, you are essentially a fooled ignorant at best. At best, you're a fooled, brainwashed, indoctrinated ignorant. At best. Otherwise, you are a satanically influenced destructor of Christianity, as far as I'm concerned. And look what Protestantism has brought us after 500 years. Every filthy, disgusting, degenerate thing that comes out of America spreads throughout the world like a cancer. And where did America come from? Well, the filthy, degenerate English that went over. Now, when the Catholics went over to the Americas, they took over the southern part. Now you can say there's, all sorts of slutty behavior going on there, but by and large, despite the fact that they're all Novus Ordo Catholic, fake Catholics, but by and large, the Catholic zeitgeist is still there. And as a result, there is a certain human level of connection that is superior. And I have been to South America, I've been to North America, I've been pretty much all around the planet. I will take a Catholic country over a Protestant country every day of the week, even though in a Catholic country, it's true, things don't work as well. Why? Because the human element. And the human element in Catholic countries is big. And it's in your face, and it's with everybody you meet. which is why on a tube station people talk to each other, which is why when you go and do some weird permit that you need some crappy paperwork, you might still get it even if you don't have all your cards, because the guy behind the counter says, no, but you're a good guy, so I'll help you out. Or at the same time, for a simple, stupid thing, you might meet a guy who doesn't like your face and, yeah, makes your life difficult. While in Protestant countries, the mechanization of human beings, which is not a good thing, the mechanization of human beings works really well. If your box is ticked, hey, you get to go where you're going, you know? Now, we will get in a minute, just build up a little bit of suspense to the key question that Romans 12:12 asked, which is, but we more or less, we're on Social Galactic, more or less we all know Vox, more or less we all come to know each other pretty much because of Vox, and Vox is a Protestant, he doesn't identify as a Catholic. Does that mean he's going to hell, Kurgan? Now, you guys, I've been expecting this question for months, a year, more. You really need to pay attention to what being a Catholic is, because the paradoxical thinking is important. See, Catholics are not black and white thinkers. We're not two-dimensional thinkers. We're three-dimensional thinkers. So you have to pay attention. Now, when I say that if I was the emperor of the Kurganate, this hypothetical land, heretics would be burnt at the stake, I am not joking. I'm absolutely deadly serious. And we will take, case in point, when Benjamin, who's been going on about, the Trinity being God the Father, God the Son, having homosexual relations and creating the Holy Squirt, that's blaspheming against the entire Trinity. Now, would Owen Benjamin be burnt at the stake in the Kurganate? I believe no, for the very simple fact that I believe that the big bear is a coward, and once the Inquisition knocked on his door once, he would drop to his knees, beg for mercy, and repent live on camera and do whatever he had to do, and he would grumble, but quietly and only to himself, because he knows that if after he repents, apologizes, and never blasphemes again, he does 2 days later do a video where he says, well, actually, then he gets burnt at the stake. But I don't think that man would get burnt at the stake, because I think he would backpedal so fast that he would see his own shadow. So that's my opinion, but I just thought I'd do a case in point. Since you want me to be controversial, it's not controversial. Ask anybody, ask me, I'll tell them what I'm thinking. It's not hard. Now, what about Vox? Would Vox get burnt at the stake in the hypothetical Kurganate? I don't think he would, for a very simple reason. And also, let's also switch it the other side. Let's say, would I get burnt at the stake in Vox's hypothetical Protestantlandia, or whatever you want to call it? I don't think I would, for a very simple reason. As I've said before, in the Kurganate, you can believe whatever the hell you want. Just don't go professing your heresy publicly, okay? And I think a very similar situation would apply to Vox's. In fact, he has pretty much that rule on Social Galactic, which is like, respect the other denominations. Now, there's been flame wars on Social Galactic. There is a flame war group where, obviously if you're in a flame war group, you're going to go there to flame war. And it's entertaining and people like doing it. But given the fact that I haven't been kicked off Social Galactic yet, maybe you will after this video, I don't know. I might skirt the line or whatever, but I'm not intentionally trying to skirt the line or whatever. I'm just saying what I'm thinking. And if somebody asks, I'll answer the question. But the point is, would I get my head cut off in Saudi Arabia? No, because if I choose to go to Saudi Arabia, I will not bring a Bible. I will not try and open a Catholic church. And some of you are saying, oh, is that because you're a coward? No, it's because I have better plans. I'm not a martyr. That is not my caste. If I was a martyr, then maybe I would go to Saudi Arabia to try and preach the gospel. That's what St. Francis of Assisi did. And he fully expected to have his head cut off. And he was such a good orator and he was such a good proselytizer that he didn't get his head cut off. But, I am not one of those guys. That's not my thing. My thing is survive and win the fight. That's my thing, because I'm of the warrior caste. I'm not of the priest class. And I think I recognize my own kind of people, and Vox is the same kind of guy. So Vox, if he were living in Kurglandia, is not stupid enough to sort of say, right, I'm going to build my big fat Protestant church right here. Also because Vox doesn't care. Vox, being a Protestant, doesn't have an issue with like somebody like me being a full-blown hardcore Catholic. And I've been at his house and we've briefly discussed it. And at first he thought I was Novus Ordo Catholic, and I was like, no, I said Catholic. I didn't say satanistic Freemasonic pedophile supporting pervert. That's what the Novus Ordo are. And then when I explained to him a little bit, he was like, oh wait, those are Catholics I could get behind, So, and then when he explained to me a little bit of, people accuse Vox of not believing in the Trinity, blah, blah, blah. He explained to me very briefly, again, we didn't go into a whole bunch of depth of it, his take on it, and I couldn't really find fault with it, and I couldn't find blasphemy with it. Now, my position with respect to Vox is, I'd say, almost identical to the one I have with John C. Wright. Now, John C. Wright is a Novus Ordo Catholic. We've emailed lengthy emails to each other from even before I was a Catholic. And he has stated his reasons for why he continues to be a Novus Ordo. And I've stated mine for why I'm a sedeprivationist. And I understood and respect his choice. I don't agree with it. I think he's just plain dead wrong. And I think that, maybe he's unintelligently, well, in fact, I cover that in the book here. I believe his is an error of loyalty, given to wrong people. But people who do an error of loyalty are nowhere near as guilty as people who do an intentional heresy. Now, Vox would definitely fall in that category. He would be making an error of whatever his error is. It would be a genuine error. It wouldn't be because he's like trying to be an obstinate guy or whatever. And frankly, I don't know. I still, I say it jokingly to myself now and then, but I still think that Vox, down the line, he's gonna go sedeprivationist. That's just, I know he's got a couple of issues with Mary, but a couple of issues with authority about a pope potentially, but there is one at the moment, so it's not really a big issue. But the fact is that from a purely practical aspect, Vox's approach to Christianity is not that different from mine. I do absolutely believe that Catholicism is the closest thing to the truth. Do I believe that human beings who are Catholic are always above, beyond, and better than everybody else? No. In fact, I think it was Milo that said that Catholics know that they can only be Catholics because Catholicism accepts the lowest form of filth ever. So also to the question, do you truly believe that Vox is going to hell because there's no salvation outside of the Catholic Church? I've explained this before. There's actually a video, I think it's number 148, where I said how you're all going to hell. I utterly believe, and it is true and logical, and it makes perfect sense, that there is no salvation outside of the Catholic Church. However, you have to understand what it means. But when we say Catholic Church, because for the first 1,000 years, there was no such thing as the Catholic or the Orthodox or the Protestant. There was just the church. That's what Catholic means. It means the universal church. There's one church, that's it. And what does it mean to be part of that church? To be part of that church, you have to have the beliefs which are still espoused and still talked about and still by the continuation of what happened in year 33 on till today is still there. It's called the Catholic Church. Now, if your belief system falls within that, you're okay. You'll probably spend a few millennia in purgatory if you're like me, but you will eventually get into the beatific vision, heaven, for those simple-minded Protestants who don't know what the beatific vision is. So that's essentially the point. Now, do you physically have to be baptized to be a Catholic? It is best. It is most recommended. However, the guy that was nailed to the cross next to Jesus wasn't, and he went to heaven. So we have at least one precedent, right? That's why the Catholic Church has baptism of desire, and there's baptism of blood. Then there is, if you've never heard of Jesus Christ, you happen to be one of those abos that lives on some, Sentinel Island, who have never heard of Jesus, never been preached anything to, and somehow you live a sinless life, you will be judged on your conscience. And, God is not a lawyer. No one, according to Catholic Church, no one goes to hell other than by their own choices, by their own rejection of the truth, or, acceptance of Satanism, essentially, as being what they want to do. So I hope that answers your question, Romans. I know that you've left because I saw that you had something to do. And do I believe that Vox is going to hell? That was the question, the detailed question. Again, I'm a Catholic. I do not have the right to say for definite who isn't going to hell. I have my opinion. Absolutely, I can have my opinion, which is I believe what you asked me, and I will get to that. But only God decides who goes to heaven and who goes to hell. However, the Catholic Church tells us what are the, shall we say, ways to get there. And guess what? Unlike you Protestants who are like, oh, I just accepted Jesus Christ in my heart. I'm saved. I'm saved. I'm good, man. I can go out, rape kids, and do whatever because once saved, always saved. Haha. No. You see, if Protestants did read the Bible, let's see there's a passage in there somewhere that says that the road to hell is wide and well populated, and the road to salvation is narrow and hard, and only a few will take it. Well, it also tells you that towards the end times, the big, good, real church will collapse and rot from the inside, and the seat of Satan will essentially be in the Vatican. Pretty much tells you that. And there's been prophecies of this for literally throughout the history of the church. Guess what's happening? Could be the end times. Maybe. Maybe not. But the reality is that most so-called Catholics are really novus orco, filthy heretics, as bad if not worse than the Protestants, or the Muslims, the Buddhists, whatever. And there is really only celebrationists left that are actually Catholic by actual dogma, by the beliefs that they follow, by the rules that they stick to. So your question, Swale, was like, do you really believe that only celebrationists are going to heaven? In my estimation, I'm not that optimistic. I think a lot of celebrationists are going straight to purgatory. I don't think that anyone is going straight to heaven. Maybe there is one or two guys that are that saintly, but I wouldn't hold my breath. And everybody else is probably going to hell. Yeah. Guess what? Catholics don't have such a rosy view of things because we actually read the Bible. We actually know what's in it. We actually listen to what the situation is. And it's not rosy. So, do I believe that Vox Day is going to hell? I believe that Vox is genuinely trying to be the best Christian that he can be, like John Wright, like myself, and possibly like many of you. However, if you are truly trying to be the best Christian that you can be, it's on you to at least read a couple of books, to at least read a couple of the patristic fathers from the first couple of 100 years of the church, to at least know the basics. And by the basics, I don't mean like, I took Jesus into my heart and now I'm saved. I can handle poisonous snakes and speak in tongues. No. I mean, read some shit. Read some history of the church. Find out. Just find out. Now, I don't know how much Vox has read, but he's got the whole complete works of Thomas Aquinas, I think, in printed in paper format, and he's a reader, so I'm pretty sure he's read. I don't know if he's read the whole works of Thomas Aquinas or whatever, but he's definitely read some stuff. And in a sense, he's going back to one of the very early councils for his creed as well, for his credo. Now, I haven't done enough investigation of those particular councils that he refers to and the subsequent alterations to concern myself in that detail. It's a little bit like, I guess he's done enough reading to satisfy himself that he thinks he's in the closest position to the truth, and I've done the same. Now, clearly we can't both be right. One of us is going to be closer to the truth than the other one. So in that respect, I don't know. The thing is, I believe I'm right. Obviously, he believes he's right. But the thing is, you also have to consider, what does it mean if you heard of the true gospel? And I don't know. I'm sure Vox has probably read more of the Bible than I have, and more frequently, I would guess. But I don't know that he has necessarily been able to connect the realities of Christianity as well as I have, to a certain extent, because I was completely out of it. I never had any Christian upbringing whatsoever, so I started like a blank slate. So I wasn't really influenced in any direction. I was free to look at whatever I wanted to look at, and I didn't have any preconceived ideas of anything in my head. And everything that I looked at kept pointing me toward the Catholic Church, which disturbed me greatly for at least a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, because everything kept pointing to the Catholic Church. And I was like, this is, sucks. The Catholic Church is filled with pedophiles. Bergoglio is a filthy scumbag. The Vatican Bank is just the most corrupting, evil piece of shit thing on the planet. How the hell can it all be pointing to Catholicism? Something's not right here. But I kept reading, went down the rabbit holes until I discovered, oh, that's why. Because it's not the Catholic Church at all. They stole the name, but they're not Catholics at all. They're not Christians of any kind. So I'd say that's probably answered the answer completely. There's quite a bit of, okay. Ben Evans says, Ortho Kinsey is wondering if judging Vox's salvation is a correct move. But I'm not judging it. As I said, only God can judge that. I'm just giving my opinion. And, I'm sure if you ask him, is the Kurga going to be saved? I'm sure he has an opinion. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care enough to have an opinion. That's more likely. He probably doesn't care enough to have an opinion. But, if he had an opinion and give it to you, and I'm sure he thinks he's more correct than I am, theologically speaking. Otherwise, he wouldn't be, where he is. But that's fine, I think John Wright is a great guy, and I think he's completely wrong. I like Vox. He's my friend. He's a good guy. And, the fact that we can think that the other guy is completely wrong on our theology is, well, that's what it is. It's not a big issue. But you see, Vox wouldn't go out of his way to try and preach something that I consider heretic. And similarly, when I'm at his house, I'm not going to tell him, that's not how you say grace, or whatever. It's like, hey, dude, it's your house. If I come to your house to visit you and you've got your, whatever, I can't think of anything now, but let's just say there was some Protestant ritual to do. If I make the choice to come into your space, I stick to the rules that are there. Otherwise, I don't come into your space. If your rules are something that is too, horrific for me to contemplate doing, or too offensive or whatever, I simply don't go there, I see no reason to ever visit Saudi Arabia, for example. I have no wish whatsoever to ever see it. So it's not hard, you know. Stick to your thing, stick to your side. Okay. You know, Woutenberg has been listening to episode 212 with Rachel Fulton Brown throughout the day today. That's I like Rachel Fulton Brown. She's a great teacher, really. And yeah, so I'm just quickly skipping. I'm not saying hi to all of you individually, but can we get Telegram posts saying you're streaming? YouTube hasn't alerted me to your last several streams. Must be a shadow ban. Ah, yeah, I am shadow banned, and thanks. Yes, I should. I should make a couple of admins on there or something. Yeah, it's just quite a small group, and I'm pretty busy, you know. And really the social media I get onto is that Social Galactic and this. So let me just say, I'll just put it on there live now. I've got to make a couple of admins, I guess, so they can help me out to tell people. But thanks, Dan. That's a good suggestion. Magdalene Maxis Romestal speaks my language. Believe and RTC in a white leather book with a red cross on the cover. Yeah, they both want this and Believe to have the leather bound on white leather. Look, I don't think Vox is gonna put my books on leather, and I got too much to do. But if one of you guys wants to organize that, you know, with a gold trim, hey, knock yourselves out. You source all the leather, you source all that stuff, and once you got it all ready, you let me know. Woutenberg says flagellation, not my bag, baby. I'm not sure what that means. Chat says there's still hope for you, Romans 12:12. Slap Weasel approves. I guess that means he wants more drama. And he's shaking right now. No, please don't make me moderate anymore. Hi Zealots, has Pew and Mare. Okay. Oh. Murgmang says Durandal, you mean the ringleader of the cheap Masonic order of future oil bears? I don't know who oil bear is. I don't know what that's about, but there is an olive oil bear guy who's actually put all my streams on a podcast, so he's cool. I don't know if that's the same guy. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Sorry, I'm not into the whole furry thing with the bears and whatever, so I don't really know who's who and what they do. The Kurganet is Roman says Roman 12:2 says the Kurganet is similar to how the Crusaders allowed private worship of other faiths in Jerusalem when they controlled it. Exactly. You see, what you guys don't get is that this is not just my opinion. It's Catholicism. Catholicism says that it is wrong to force somebody to believe different than their conscience dictates, even if that conscience dictates that they believe error. You're not allowed to force people. We're not Muslims. We don't convert people at gunpoint. But at the same time, if you start preach heresy, you get a warning and you carry on, you get burnt at the stake. It's very simple. You want to do heresy? Go in your heretic lands to do it. Don't do it here. It's not difficult. Wooly Ram says, how do you know that Durandal is a Mason? Ben Evans, someone should transcribe those rules for the future travel brochures for the Kurganet. Oh, don't worry. You know, it's the old saying. I used to say this kind of thing even before long before I was a Catholic. After you burn like a dozen people at the stake, everybody gets the message. You know, I hate smokers and people that smoke near you and smoke in public where you can smell it. I was like, you know, somebody that smokes where I can smell it, I should be able to just shoot them in the head right there. And people are like, oh, but you're so, how many people would you kill? I said, like, no more than 12. You know, after you kill 12 of them for smoking in public, burn them at the stake in the public square, everybody else will stop smoking in public. They'll just take their cigarette, make sure they've got a little bubble around them if they smoke it, that all the gases don't escape and they stay in their nostrils and their lungs, so I don't have to get irritated by that shit. It's simple. Your freedom ends where it starts to infringe on my life. It is really that simple. Merck says, I don't know that he's a Freemason. It's mostly a joke based on the fact that his gamma male enablers are all bears and the fact that his arguments just come off as weird in a creepily similar way to Masonry. Not just that, dumb, thicker than two short sticks. He's just stupid. Doesn't really get any, he doesn't argue. He's just like, oh, I'm just gonna, look, Ma, I shat in the carpet. Oh, that's pretty much his argument. That's Murg Magelmax. He says, I think the worst issue was all the facepalm worthy bears trying to use Owenisms as serious arguments against Catholicism. Yeah, you're not the only one that noticed that. There's some Protestants that noticed that and were like, I disassociate, I disavow, and just step back into the hedge again, Homer style, Homer Simpson style. Bjorn Bear says, noticing droplets of sewage in my Novus Ordo ice cream, I didn't just close my eyes and start pretend that nothing happened. I was looking for proper Christians. There you go. Now, this is where Romans told us that he had to go. Thanks for the quick response. You're most welcome. Thank you for the review. David Perkins says, I think David is English. I think we can tell from this comment. Murg, Vox allowing the Bears to join Social Galactic was such a smart move. I can't say that's sarcasm, he could be just saying what he really thinks, but I suspect that might be. But no, I'm not, I quite like the Bears, generally speaking. Some of them are completely retarded because flat earth and all that shit, but overall, the Bears are a pretty innocent bunch, I guess. Ventilion says it's too bad Bohemon's conquest of Byzantium didn't pan out. Yeah, he just didn't have enough support. He was a pioneer like myself. He's just ahead of his time. Yeah, and Merck says, half of them are great. Yeah, I agree. They're generally the Bears as a whole, they tend to be decent guys. I quite like them. The other half copy Owen in a forgive Zoomer speak. Yeah, pretty correct. Wittenberg says parroting has definitely become a default. So sad, since so many of his early lessons were critical thinking driven. Yeah, I don't know what's happened to Owen, but whatever. That's his thing. And Merg says, cringe way. They seriously think copying Owen speak is an actual argument and totally not a gamma male move, since gammas are prone to using comedian speak as serious arguments. And Pew and Bear says, I have joined as a bear, but I have become sede in the meantime. But you're right, this is not a rule. Yeah. Decimus Maximus says, which Bible should a good Catholic read? KJV, New International? No. It's the Douay-Rheims Bible. I don't know how to pronounce it, but for short, it's the DR Bible. Also, the KJV is probably one of the worst renditions of the Bible to get things from. Although my first Bible that I started to read was a KJV, so use what you got, I guess. But if you're gonna go Catholic, then get a proper Catholic Bible. Get the Douay-Rheims Bible. It's in English. It's probably the better translation. With a Bear says, definitely, at least Owen can be funny, whereas the Gamma Bears are literal cringe. They also make me wonder if Owen is going to have a repeat of the oil bear fiasco with one of them. I don't know who this oil bear is. I don't know what any of that is. I don't even think Owen is particularly funny. I don't know, because I haven't watched him in a long time, but, you know, he had a few jokes, but I don't know, they weren't. When I went to see his show, he didn't even have enough stuff to do an hour of like continuous, comedy. So Seramer says, we burn babies alive and rip them limb from limb by the millions in their mother's wombs. A few heretic marshmallows would be vastly preferable. Exactly. Thank you. Somebody who can do, simple logical syllogism, who can think rationally. That's all. And Merck says, do I arrange or learn Latin, Greek, and read the Vulgate Septuagint? Yeah. Woolly Ram, getting the ilk and VFM to stop arguing with others is not going to happen. Lucas Alaman says, well, this was the Catholic position for millennia. The church was not going house to house checking on heresy, but if someone started teaching it publicly, the Inquisition will look into it. Exactly. It's not hard. Wooden Bear says, the mass banning purges need to occur again, but I also no longer hang in his chat. Daddy Prunes, SG is its own animal. And David says, yeah, it's not gamma that are the problem. Copying other people's terms doesn't make you smart. What? Merck says you can't fight spellcraft with deceptively presented not spellcraft. Wooden Bear says, well, crap. Later at the Kurgan and the rest of you legends. Leaving the office. Have a great one. Have a good trip home, Woody Bear. Okay. Wooly Ram says, how impactful is a pope to the day-to-day life of the layman? Well, not much if he just protects the faith and does his thing. But, if he is a filthy heretic like Roncalli or Montini, one of those scumbags, well, you see what they've done to the Catholic Church. They've wrecked a lot of it. Seramer says, to be fair, a saved person wouldn't rape children if he was saved. It would be off the menu according to the Baptists I've encountered. Yeah, you see, Seramer, but that's the thing. Then you're not a Baptist, you're a Calvinist. Because what you're saying is, well, if you say that you've taken Jesus into your heart and then you go on to rape children, well, you were never saved in the first place. So it's all preordained, right? You've got no free will. Because you can say, well, I'm a Protestant. I accept Jesus in my heart. I sing rock and roll songs and, well, I'm saved. Once saved, always saved, so I can go rape the children now. If you're saying that doesn't make any sense, you're right. You know why? Because it doesn't. But then, if you want to keep being a Protestant, the only out of that is, well, he's raping kids, so he was never saved to begin with. He's just a fake saved guy. So how do you tell the difference? First question. Second question. Okay, so really, the only ones that are saved are the ones that are saved to begin with, no matter what. So you're a Calvinist. So there is no free will. And God doesn't work that way. Because if there is no free will, you're not a human being. You're a marionette. For the Americans, a puppet on strings. Europeans understand marionette. See what I mean? So the Protestant position is beyond retarded. It's absolutely stupid. You have to be a moron to be a Protestant. And you have to be brainwashed into it from beginning. If you're a rational thinker starting from scratch, you will end up Catholic. If you're not very smart and you're impressed by, Russia, then you'll be an Orthodox. Maybe if you're in the Middle East, you'll become a Copt, but you certainly will not become a Protestant. no sane, rational human being starting from zero and looking at the evidence would choose Protestantism. It just doesn't make sense. Purgatory and limbo are parts of hell. The vast majority of Baptist humanity is at least going through hell. Yeah. Decimus Maximus says, do you have an opinion concerning the Nicene Creed compared to Vox? No, I don't, because I haven't looked into it enough. There are two Nicene Creeds, so I just haven't had the time. And frankly, I don't really care. The Catholic Church, the whatever Catechism of Trent, the Credo of the Catholic Church is good enough for me. You want to try and split hair about this and that? Yeah, I don't care. It's the Credo of the Catholic Church is my credo, and it's fine. David Perkins says, I'm pretty sure Vox's opinion on church council has more to do with his personality than with church history. I would agree. That is precisely my opinion too. I'm sure well, I'm not sure, but I would bet money, probably if I had to, that he would disagree with that view and that he would say that he is looking at church history. But no, I tend to agree. I'd say that his personality is what drives that rather than church history. Amanda says that she's really glad that we do not force people to believe. And David Perkins says Vox takes way too much pleasure in his own ideas, which is why the only new take his blog has had in the past 2 years has been QAnon. it's not an entirely baseless point, but to be fair to Vox, he's had a lot of interesting ideas over the years, and some of them quite important ones. I like Vox best when he's at his dry humor and when he does things like rabbit puppies. That was hilarious. Pion Bear says that he has to go. It's 0:30 in his corner. And Jonas of the Kurgan is amazing considering all manual labor he also does. Cheers, Immortals. Yes, and I actually do some manual labor. But, and I don't sleep very well because kids. In fact, my wife and I are actually we're testing out this for the last couple of days. I've been sleeping with the boy, she's been sleeping with the baby, and see if that makes us sleep a bit more, because it's getting a bit hectic when you've got 3 little kids and you're not in your 20s. Sedermer says, sharp deduction there, Kurgan, thank you. It's not that sharp, but to be honest with you, it's fairly obvious. Bully Ram says that he was fortunate to be raised in ignorance of Christianity. And so, yeah, so was I. So, it's that's why we're Catholics, I think, because we didn't have any baggage. How's rebuilding the farm and house progressing? Oh, painfully. We've finished painting the walls, well, most of the walls in the kitchen, but this fucking guy, not only did he paint the beams there, I think I've shown you this before, see that? Vomit yellow on like ancient wood beams. It's just pathetic. And I've just done the walls in this office because it was like the first room I wanted to do, and I will eventually get to that, but it'll be the last room that I finish off. But we've done the beams, we've done the ceiling, we've done the walls in the kitchen. But in the kitchen, on the walls, what this guy did is he took like cutouts from newspapers and magazines, and a picture of some woman in a car, and the little poster in a magazine for some film, and he plastered all this shit on the walls, and then he covered it with some resin or some shit. So now we have to take all that crap off because paint doesn't really work on it, and you can still see through stuff, you know. So we have to scrape all that shit off and then repaint it. It's just, so the kitchen is pretty major work that we've been doing on it. But, and there's going to be like two kitchens basically in the kitchen, because there's a normal kitchen with a stove, sink, and a little worktop and a dishwasher, which will help a lot because, you know, when I say we, I mean the royal we, really. My wife does the washing up by hand, and it's a pain in the ass, takes long. And so that'll be on one side of the kitchen. On the other side of the kitchen, there used to be, and there's going to be again, because I'm just going through the motions now. Hopefully I'll be able to order it in the next couple of days and so on. But you can get these wood stoves in Italy that are also a cooker. So, you know, you've got a wood, it's a wood stove that has a wood, you know, it's just all you use is wood in there, but it heats the oven. It's got an oven in it, and it's got a hot plate on top so you can cook on it. And it also connects to the heating, the water of the heating, you know, the water that goes in the radiators that heats the house. So with that wood stove, you can heat the whole house. You don't have to use the gas, and the gas just gets used for the, you know, for the drinking water, for like when you shower and stuff like that. But the heating of the radiators is done by that wood stove, which we're also going to get it connecting through the wall through another room where at the moment we've got a fire. Well, there was a fireplace, and this idiot knocked it out and put in an American stove that just consumes about 20 kilos of wood every couple of hours. Why you would get an American stove in Italy is beyond me, because Italy makes some of the best stoves on the planet. So when they put in the wood oven, let's call it, on the other side, we got to decide, you know, we will put the attachment there, and then we either put just another radiator, get rid of that American stove, and then we're left with a bit more space to maybe put a library or a reading nook or something like that. But my wife was saying today that, oh, I want to think about it, because I quite like the idea of having a fire that you can see, you know, a bit romantic and whatever. Personally, I would have preferred the chimney, you know, would have just stayed there, the fireplace, the actual, you know, fireplace built out of bricks and stuff. Why he knocked it out, again, should bitch slap that man to death. But there you go. So that's inside the house, and then there's another wall that I need to paint. I need to build some library shelves so I can eventually get my books out, make more space at the back in the room where the kids can play and so on. So there's all massive amounts of work to do inside the house. Outside the house, we've now reached the end of the pruning season, so it's too late now to carry on pruning, and we've only done about maybe half of the trees that needed pruning, the olive trees. So we'll do a better job for next year. There's a bunch of other stuff, you know, there's paperwork to do that comes out the ass, really, in Italy, that the bureaucracies. You need a permit for this, you need a permit for that, you need to register this, you need to register that, and I have to change over my car and all stuff. So it's just endless. It's endless, 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 endless. But it's progressing. You know, we're getting there. And once we have a functioning kitchen, that will definitely help take a bit of the pressure off. And then I can focus a bit more on the other stuff inside the house, because outside the house, you know, we've got cherries now. We're picking up buckets of cherries. We've got more cherries than we can eat. There's going to be some grapes growing all over the place that we're cleaning the 2 rows of vineyard. You know, we've got like a small vineyard of 2 different types of grapes. In the next couple of days, myself and the most loyal henchmen are going to finish clearing that off, because we'd gone at it pretty good, but there was so much thorns and crap around there, and now we're getting rid of everything, making sure that there's only the vines. We have to re-straighten up all the poles and tighten all the wires. So it's endless. Honestly, it's endless. You never, ever, ever get to a point where you think, hey, I've done it. I can just chill out. It's just a question. And also there's a lot of catching up, because the guy had let it go to shit for like 3 years in a row. You know, there's like tall grass now. We'll eventually have to chop that down. But again, you have to be careful about how you, because there's original woodland on the property, which you have to be careful how you treat it. You can't just go and do what you want. You can't just cut down trees and shit like that. Not that I want to. I like the forest, but you know, there are times when you can do certain things to clean the area, and when you can't. And then there's the bee guy who brings the bees, and he's going to give us some honey when the season is finished. But we've got a bee highway now because we've got a pond just outside the front entrance, and the bees are at the top of the property. So the bees keep coming to get the water from the pond, and then, you know, fertilize the flowers, whatever they do, and go do the honey back at the top. And so there's this highway of bees that just keep going backwards and forwards, and they're not the best drivers because, you know, when you cross their highway, they just dunk 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 bounce off your head basically. So it's quite funny though. Yeah, David Perkins says your explanation of why once saved always saved leads to Calvinism is really well put. I had to skip back to hear it again. It's moronic. It's completely retarded. I don't know how anybody can be so stupid to think that, like, well, I'm saved. I got my vaccine. I'm good now. I'm gonna go straight to heaven. Fucking morons, you know. And I'm sorry, but you Americans, you're the culprits. I'm looking at you, Americans. That's right. Does winter get cold enough to need a large American stove? It gets fucking cold. When we arrived here, 20 minutes later, we had like a foot of snow that we couldn't leave the house for 3 days because our cars just couldn't back up the drive. You know, the drive is pretty steep. It's a pretty squared away location. You know, northern Italy, it snows. You know, it's not a. It's a proper Mediterranean climate. It's got all the seasons. Well, apparently 1 year it snowed like a couple of meters of snow that blocked the doors and everything, you know. So luckily that wasn't us this year, but who knows? You know, with the 4 phases of the sun going out of phase this year, 2021, we're in for a big fat ice age, global warming my ass. You know, I don't know whether we're going to be able to live above ground because the last ice age, only 2 of the magnetic fields of the sun went out of phase. This year, all 4 go out of phase. So every farm ranch is like that. I've worked on a few, and the projects are endless. Yeah, it just never ends, and it's never going to end. And the thing is, if you can keep all your fingers, your limbs, and your body, you know, not getting crushed by falling trees or some tractor running you over, or, you know, some tool that you're using chopping off a limb, you know, you're doing well. The most loyal henchman unfortunately murdered a frog, a toad really. And I love toads. They're good. I like toads, frogs, those kind of guys. And he was just cutting down the grass with, you know, one of those little choppers. And then he came back to me and said, "Oh, there's something disgusting. There's a frog that's been decapitated and it's just lying there. Something took its head off." And I looked at him like, "You took its head off." And he was like, "What? That grass cutting machine you were just buzzing around with?" "Oh no, oh, don't tell me it was me that did that." It was you. And we went there, and the thing's face had been sheared off. It was still alive. You know, some animals are tough. Like one of its little arms had like half ripped, and its head had been sheared off, and it had maybe one eye left. It had no mouth. I put it in water, and I thought, okay, let's just see. You know, it's still alive. It's wiggling around, and then it kept flopping upside down. So I turned it. I cleaned the wound, try and see if it's salvageable. Whether if it heals over, he still had his mouth. Maybe he could eat. But you know, I waited an hour or two because sometimes animals surprise you, and then I could see I wasn't going to make it. So you know, I ground down a piece of reinforcing we had lying around, and I just ground it down, made it to a point, a flat point, and I told the most loyal henchman, "Come on, you're gonna see this since you know you caused it." And he was like, "Oh, I'll kill it if you want." And I was like, "Yeah, it's all right." You know, he's still a young guy. I mean, he's very good. He's not squeamish or anything. I mean, he is freaked out by insects, which I find hilarious. And I knew he didn't. You know, when I was cleaning the frog, I said, "Okay," you know, I was holding the toad. Like, "Okay, take that piece of grass off its face." And it's like, you know, he's like, So I didn't make him kill the frog. I did it myself. But we gave it a proper burial. We put a little cross on it, and we, Toad, rip, rest in peace. He dug the hole. He did the whole thing. He did his penance for killing the frog. I thought of making him read a passage from the Bible, maybe about plague of frogs or something, but didn't have the Bible to hand there and then. So yeah, shit happens. But yeah, as long as it's a toad, it's okay. If it's one of the kids, then my most loyal henchman could just disappear. No, he knows that. Seeing bees makes me oddly happy. Yeah, and frogs. We got frogs. We got bees. We got those big bees. We call them calabrone. I don't know what you call them in English. That's like you're a bumblebee. That's what you call them. Grasshoppers. Fireflies. The other day, I'm busy all the time, so I unfortunately sometimes don't spend anywhere near as much time with the kids as I'd like. So I took the girl. I told her, okay, we're gonna go for a little walk in the dark, and she's 5, so I sort of think, oh well, she's might be a little bit scared or whatever. So I told her, okay, don't worry, we'll take the big machete and you'll take the light, you'll take the little torch. So we're going out with the torch, and it's like she's switching the torch on and she's walking, not scared at all. And she goes, "Are there wolves here?" And she's never, since she was little, she's never pronounced my name right. She goes, "Are there wolves here, Jeppe?" And I'm like, yeah, there are actually wolves, but probably not on our property and stuff. But maybe we can hear them. I was trying to make it like a bit exciting, a bit scary. She's like, yeah, okay. So, and we got this tall grass and there's some thorn bushes and stuff around, so I have to be a bit careful where we're walking with her. But as we walk out, there's these fireflies. Now, I haven't seen fireflies since I was a kid in Italy, and the only other place I saw them was in Botswana when I was a teenager. I haven't seen fireflies since. And now in this field, it was great. You're looking down the hillside and you just see all these fireflies everywhere. It was awesome. So I picked her up and, go through some of the tall grass, and we went off a little bit right to the bottom and starting to get near to the forest bits. And then I tried to grab one of the fireflies, but I didn't want to hurt them. So I wasn't really trying that hard because I wanted to grab them softly without hurting them, just to show her. And she goes, "Oh, but the fireflies have got like a light from their head." And I said, "No, it's not in their head, it's their butt." And she's like, "But what do you mean? How can they have the light in their butt?" I said, "Yeah, it's their butt. Their butt lights up." She goes, "No, but don't they need the lights in the front of their head? How can they see where they're going if the light's in their butt?" Which, I never thought about it, but pretty good question, really. So then we heard like dogs barking, and I was trying to teach her, like, you gotta be quiet, at night you gotta be quiet, walk quiet, don't talk loud so that you can see more animals and stuff. And we heard these dogs barking, and a little bit of ululating, and she's like, "Is that wolves?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it could be, maybe, and it's coming from the right area, over there. They said there's some wolves, people have seen them in that area, maybe." I said, "Okay," we start to go back up, and she goes, "But maybe if we keep the light off, we will see some werewolves that will come and try and eat us." And she wasn't saying like, "Oh my God, we'll see werewolves that will come and eat us." She was like, "Maybe if we keep quiet, some werewolves will try and come and eat us." Because, she's clearly happy with the fact that if werewolves come and eat us, well, Jeppe is there with the machete. He'll take them out. And it made me laugh because it wasn't even wolves, it was werewolves. And I was like, "Do you know what werewolves are?" Because, "Yeah, they're big wolves that eat people." And I'm like, they're like people that change into wolves. It's like a myth. But that's not really real, though, is it? Like, no. But the real big wolves are real, right? Yeah, they could try and eat us. She was really excited about it. So, yeah, that was quite cool, actually. I really enjoyed that little walk. I'm going to try and do a bit more of that with her. And, yeah, like Bully Ram says, yeah, this summer is surprisingly mild. We're barely breaking 30 degrees at the end of May. Yep. Bees means natural health in the environment, and honey. Not just that, frogs frogs and toads means good things as well. And fireflies. Fireflies are one of the most fragile things, which is why I've only seen them when I was a kid in Italy and in an unspoiled nature in Africa. Fireflies are a very good indicator of healthy biodiversity, or a healthy environment in the natural in the forest that in this area. Is it dark enough that you can see the stars fully? Oh yes, and I can't wait to get eventually my telescope out, and you can see the Milky Way. And again, the last time I saw the Milky Way was when I was a kid in Italy, and throughout my teens and my childhood, and a little bit of my later life as well, when I was in Africa, in the Kalahari Desert. It is actually considered one of the best places on Earth to see the stars from. It's no light pollution. You can see the Milky Way clearly. You can see the Milky Way here, but it's not as clear as Africa, but still really good. Farmer Grady Hooger. Who would know? Because he's a farmer. I'm not a farmer. I'm a mercenary crusader playing at being a farmer. I'm just hacking away at shit, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Says, farm tasks are endless. Only people who get ahead make so much money they can hire help or have a lot of kids. Yep. And frankly, I don't think there's enough here from the things that this land can produce. I don't think there's enough here to get ahead. I think there's enough here that I could definitely, if you can freeze things and whatever, and I want to try and get some solar panels as well, and maybe a little generator for emergencies or whatever. But if it's just me and the loyal henchmen and my family, we can probably survive on whatever we planned. Not this year, because it's just too late in the season already. We had to do too much stuff. But say from next year, we could probably, and also I need to get a tractor, but they're expensive, so I need to figure out one. I don't know, maybe just hire one, because a tractor would be useful, but from our particular land and the way it is, it's not as useful as it could be. So I don't know, it might just be better to get a guy to come in and do a couple of bits that I need done once a year, and that's that. But yeah, this land would be enough to feed us. And I don't want farm animals, but if we get a couple of chickens and a couple of, I don't know, pigs or goats or whatever, I'm sure it would be enough to do that. But to feed us, let's say. And it would be hard work. It would be hard work, but it'd be enough that there's enough space and there's enough stuff that you could sell some of the olive, make some oil with it, sell some of the fruit, conserve some of it, plant. There's enough land that you can plant whatever, potatoes or carrots or zucchini or whatever the hell, that you would be able to store up. But it would still be tough. And if you had enough people on the land, which you can't really, because again, zoning and that sort of thing in Italy is very strict. But whatever, if 50 crusaders moved nearby, hired places, whatever they got, you could farm this land properly. You could, potentially you can feed as many people as you can use the land, and I'm pretty sure that you could feed, like, I don't know, 50 people of what you can do this land easily. But you would probably need 50 people to work the land if you're doing everything by hand. An interesting thing that the bee guy told me is that, like, because now we do things with tractors, we completely wrecked the bee season, the honey season, all that. Because what used to happen in the old days, the bees would come when the flowering started, and then the farmer would start to use a scythe to, like, chop down the grain and whatever. And when he chops down the grain, another kind of a grass comes up that flowers as well. So the bees were getting the flowers from other trees. Then when you cut down the grain, there's other, it's not a weed, but whatever, it's another kind of non-essential grass that also makes flowers, and the bees would get that one, and then the farmer would come along and cut that down as well, and he would start at the bottom of the hill and work his way up the hill, and by the time he's finished to get up the hill, at the bottom there's some flowering again, so the bees had a long period of flowers that they could get, food from. While now we got tractors, so you take the grain out in one day, and then the next day you turn over all the earth, so there's no more flowers. There's, the bee season is just going shh, and their food is that much smaller. So it's we're kind of fucking everything up because of modern technology, which we blame you English people for that. Industrial Revolution. Amanda says, beautiful father-daughter bonding time. What a blessing. The stories about your children make me smile so much. Yeah, I really need to spend more time with them, but the thing is, I'm also trying to bust my ass so that I can spend more time with them a little bit down the line. But yeah, the little dude is so awesome. Like this morning, he's such a rough little guy, but he truly is a boy. He like woke up this morning and like I'm a very light sleeper, but I felt him moving, but I just stayed like quiet, like I was asleep, and he just very slowly, softly came to give me a little kiss on the lips. And then as soon as I opened my eye, he goes, "Hi, Dad." he's hilarious the way he does that. He says, "Hug." He gives me a little hug. He's awesome. But all the kids are awesome, really. The little baby, she's hilarious. She's starting to make little faces now, and you can tell exactly what she wants. She doesn't have. She's like the Japanese. She doesn't have to speak. She just looks at you like, and you know, okay, you want food, okay, you want water, okay, you want the booby, yeah, no, you're done with this food, you want the booby now, or you want mama. It's like, she's really awesome, and she's so chubby. She's really good. And the other monkey, she's kind of a pain in the butt because she's always loud, and she has no filter. I mean, that girl, she literally talks to herself. She has a thought, it has to be verbalized. It's incredible. But she's got her own little style. She's really good at putting her clothes together in a way that's like a really cute little outfit. And I don't know, she's had that since she was really small. I remember once she was about 3, I think, and she put on um, leg warmers, knee pads, sunglasses, some colored hat. I don't know. It was a combination that was like the coolest. Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool. It looked good on her as a little girl, but you could scale it up. And she did that today as well. Today she was just wearing like a little summer culottes and a little top and a hat. It was a very quintessential British lady hat. And the amazing thing is that it works well on her as a kid. It makes her look cute. But if you scaled it up to like you put it on a pretty 20-year-old or whatever, it would also look really good. And the one that she did that I don't know if I think I have a picture of that somewhere. I can't remember with the leg warm with the colored leg warmers and everything. That was like awesome. You could see that same get up, scaled up, and you could see like that would be a good fashion show. Not like these sticky insect like walking with this crap and half naked bullshit. No, I reckon that little monkey, that might be a thing for her because she really has a good sense of style. She'll even pick clothes for her mom and stuff, and she really has a good eye. Coordinates colors and everything, and it's a talent. It's not like she doesn't study to do it. She's just like, oh, they got that. We'll put that, and this looks good, and yeah, we'll put this on here. She's very imaginative with that. Do you plan on adding chickens? My wife wants some, and mathematically it makes sense because we eat a shitload of eggs apparently. Not apparently, we do. Just breakfast in the morning, Me, the loyal henchman, the wife, the kids. It's just like, if you want to have eggs and bacon, that's, a dozen eggs gone every day, no problem. So it makes sense. But I tell you, I just want to like be the warlord and Have the peasants take care of that shit. I don't want to deal with chickens and all that. Nah. So, but we'll see. And Farmer Grady says niche market gardening is surprisingly lucrative for enterprising people, but just homesteading is good too. Market gardening. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm not sure if you mean like selling your produce or if you mean doing gardening for other people. I'm not sure. David Perkins, isn't Africa moving to Italy? Lots of opportunities. No, no. I shall keep my indentured servants as British refugees. I'm not taking any Syrians in. I'm just taking the savages from the north. Those people who burn in the sun, and I'll just take. I think it's fitting. They invented the Industrial Revolution, and now I'm just putting them to work in the cotton fields. Amanda says, I wish I could be a lamb shepherd. Do you have any idea how badly those animals stink? I keep on watching documentaries on shepherding and it fascinates me. Sheep, no S on the end of that. Sheep stink. They stink. Pretty much all animals stink. Amazing stories. I can imagine your children are the cutest. Hey, hi Chris, how are you doing? I've read some disturbing news about your country, Chris. I hope that you and your brother are doing all right. Amanda Joan, did you meet your wife in England? Yep, she's English, and that's where I met her. She actually, oh, it's a long story. A story about my wife and the meeting, and I'm gonna put that one in a book because it is for the books. It's a worthwhile tale to tell. Chris says, I was watching a previous stream of yours the other day, and you said something along the lines saying the SSPV aren't sedis. Well, they're absolutely retarded on the matter of saying the Thuck line of bishops are not valid, and Father Jenkins doesn't help being such an apparitionist. They're still valid, energetic Bergoglio. No, Chris, they're not. They do not say non una cum mass. When they say their mass, they link Bergoglio to it. So, no. They're fake Catholics. Your mass, look, if you want to know if somebody is Catholic or not, they have to say a non una cum mass. In other words, there has to be no name of any of the current or previous fake popes. When they say the mass, it must not be linked to one of these heretics. And they must reject everyone and everything connected to Vatican II. That's the test. Farmer Grade says, yes, growing high-value produce, specialty products. Yeah, well, it is something I'm looking into, but again, a lot of paperwork, a lot of permits, a lot of stuff. I am looking at it, and potentially there's an avenue there down the line for some of the stuff. I have good contacts for that sort of thing, so we'll see. I got to invent something because we're gonna have to keep eating. So. Goats, though, am I right? Exactly, David. Goats. I mean, goats. Woolly Ram says kale and spinach for urbanite hipsters. Yeah. I'm thinking to make the urbanite hipsters come here and say, have a day in the country. See what it's like to be a medieval peasant. And then just put them to work in the field. Charge them for it. 50 euro and you too can experience the joy of being a medieval peasant. And they won't come twice, but that's kind of the point. They pay once, they work the field, and they don't come back. They stay away. It's a great idea. I think I might do that. Dickmus Maximus, your region good for strawberries. it's good for everything because it's you know, I come from the north of Italy, and I remember when I was a kid with my grandma, we'd just go walking just walking and randomly in the forest nearby, and you'd find wild strawberries, you'd find wild berries, wild everything. You know, everything will grow around here. It's not like there isn't anything that won't grow, but uh, and microgreens will eat. Okay, you guys got to understand something. First of all, in Italy, we actually have real food. GMO food is not allowed by law. So we don't have a huge bunch of hipsters going, I'm having my microgreen now. I'm going to have, this moss that is grown in Sweden and farted on only by virgin elk of 12 years of age. And then it's collected by, people under the full moon, and they only collect it with the left hand, and then they grind it in this special coffee grinder that comes from Italy because they make the best coffee, and then they make it into this green paste, and then I smear it in my nostrils before I drink the green juice of the stuff that was collected in the moon shadow. No, we don't have a lot of those people. They're like, oh, so you got unfiltered olive oil made from your, great, yeah, cool. I got it too. It's in my garden. And I think I know what happened there because it went over midnight. Sorry for the little glitch. Let's see if I still have all your chats. Yes. Chad says you could get rabbits, but the kids will talk you out of eating them and you end up with 50. Yeah. And man, the chickens smell so bad too sometimes. Yeah, they do. I'd rather eat a cow's head. Chris says, I'm almost certain they reject Vatican II. Are you certain you're not confusing them with SSPX? I might have to do more research. SSPX are also not Catholics. As far as I'm aware, SSPV do una cum mass. So just check on that. Are rabbits even worth eating? Those rodents are pests. Oh, you have not lived if you have not eaten rabbits. Also, another thing, we have snails. I have to just do a little bit of research, but when I was a kid, of course, we just picked the snails up and you cook them, and then they get called escargot, and they're a delicacy, and they taste really good if you cook them proper. She says, Amanda says that rabbits are not worth eating. No, they are. Rabbit is a nice meat. Yeah, GMO is based in Italy. You can't have GMO food here. It's we actually still have real food. That's what I mean. So if I recall, SSPV are valid, but they consider no one else valid while being mealy-mouthed about the said position. Okay, you guys have now piqued my curiosity. I will go and find out the SSPV, but as far as I'm aware, I don't believe they are valid. They do una cum mass. If they do an una cum mass, they're invalid. There and then. Yes, Chris agrees with Woolly Ram. Woolly Ram goes, good God, Kurgan, you have to work with someone like this for long. I think he's talking about my hipster impression. Slap weasel. If I see moon-grown, stone-ground, virgin elk fart moss in Whole Foods, I'll laugh my ass off. Well, you'll also know who invented it. Trademark. Carl Denine says the SSPV doesn't say on a cum mass. And the SSPV believe the Thuck lineage to be false. Well, I've looked into that, and on that note alone, they would then be schismatic because the Thuck lineage is valid. That is something that I have looked into. If they don't say an una cum mass, okay, I'm surprised, or maybe I'm getting confused. I will look into it. But yeah, if SSPV is that Jenkins guy that was arguing with Chakada, yeah, maybe what they're doing is valid, but they're Church of Power. So I would, personally, I would avoid. If you can't go anywhere else, that's fine, then go there. But I don't know. I need to look into it. I was almost sure that SSPV was not Catholics. But I could be wrong. You know, I'll have a look. Okay, so I don't know how long I've been going before, but it was a while. Hopefully, let's see. Yeah, I was still 30 of you, so I guess you didn't all run away. You've learned that if the string drops, I tend to come back. Yes, I was quite impressed with my impromptu personation of a hipster as well, but and no, thank God I never had to work with somebody like that. That would have just, yeah, you would have read about that in the papers. Oh, Father Jenkins is a mealy-mouthed weasel fuckhead. So yeah, no. Maybe they are valid. I don't know. It could just be that I just reject anything connected with people like that. So he was, and he lied. You know, he was just a fucking liar in that debate. Father Chicada like crucified him politely. I wouldn't have been polite about it. In case you wonder what I'm talking about, there's a debate with Father Chicada and this Jenkins priest guy, and he's like a mealy-mouthed weasel. So yeah. Okay, well, if you have some questions, fire them away. If you have any comments or something else, let me know. I think I've gone on for quite a bit because it's 20 past 1 here. So yeah, and like, you know, that heretic was probably going to Hellvox. I don't get up late in the morning. No. Anyway, so we'll see. I'm guessing there's gonna be a few more people than normal looking at this one just because of the title. But yeah, if and you know, if you want to be a based peasant in Italy, let me know. We can always use a bit more muscle in the field, you know. We want to go back to that whole traditional way. So the bees have more time. Scythe and sweat. Just valid but smelly. There you go. That's kind of... Wooly gets it. Wooly gets it. Valid but smelly. Yes. Woolly Ram reminded me of role-playing games and that. I was... can't remember what the topic of conversation was, but... Deacon Blue says I can come help catch fireflies. No, no, no. We don't need that. We need some people willing to work their butt off. How hot does it get in July, August there? Hot. Sweaty hot. Hot that, and also, you know, it's not that far from the sea as well, so it's hot enough that in August here, if you walk to the bottom of the property and walk back up to the top of the property without tarrying, in other words, you know, you just do it, walk down, walk back up, your shirt, t-shirt, whatever, will be drenched through. You will have sweated the fuck through it. And that's me, and I'm not a fat bastard American. If you are the average globular Yankee, you just go up and down the hill like about 20 times, you'll probably die. Probably 10 times. And so, yeah. Amanda Joan would love to, I'm guessing, catch fireflies. Leave the fireflies alone, guys. You know, I like the fireflies. Collecting the olives, cleaning up around the trees, getting rid of the evil devil thorn bushes that are everywhere, collecting, cutting down and collecting the, what do you call it? Oh, what's the name? what's that plant that stings you when you brush past it? It's got like this pointy leaves and little like darts. Oh, Ortica. I forget the name in English. A brain fart moment. It'll come to me. Pick those things up so you can make risotto with it. Nettles. That's it. Risotto. Nettle risotto. It's very good. Woolly Ram says, I'm always surprised by how polite, strong, and insightful loyal priests are. I would add humorous. They are happy, proper priests, real Catholic priests. They're funny, man. They got an awesome sense of humor, and they really are. And they're tough human beings, like spiritually just tough. Chris says, peasant sounds all right. Now, being a baron, that sounds interesting. However, I'll be a peasant for as long as I need to become a baron. Yeah. That's right, Chris. Everybody levels up. It's like I was talking to my brother about the most loyal henchman who was in the room while we were talking about him. And my brother said, I thought the same thing, but I just didn't have anybody to discuss it with. But my brother was like listening to what I told him about the most loyal henchman. He goes, oh, so he's like leveled up. He's not like an NPC henchman. He's like become a PC now, right? Because this is what happens in Dungeons and Dragons. When you don't have enough players, you're like, okay, I'll make the paladin, and the guy gonna make a monk, whatever. The guy will make a mage. But then we don't have enough players, so okay, we'll have NPCs. We'll have a henchman. So the main guy will be whatever the paladin guy, but he'll have a thief henchman who's like kind of a good thief, and then he'll have another fighter henchman. But then you play, and then maybe other friends come over, and it's like, hey, this henchman like actually ends up saving your character's life while you're playing, although he's just an NPC. But some pivotal thing happens, and he like saves the party or something, and it's like, this NPC is cool, and then the NPC becomes a player character. He just somebody takes him over, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm playing this guy now. He's like a full PC now, and the most loyal henchman absolutely, PC'd himself up, and we're going to help him keep going up the levels. That's what a good warlord does. Make sure that zero level NPC becomes a first level peasant, then NPC, and then becomes a first level NPC player, classed character, and then becomes a third level NPC, and then becomes a play character. That's the progression. That's what good warlords do. Amandi's very excited about nettles, says that's all the greens you need. Woody Ram says establish a monastic order dedicated to the health of the land. Good place for penance. Well, it is my intention down the line to reclaim the land. There's a piece of land that the Novos Orco Church owns, which I want to buy off them, and once I get that, I want to apply to the council to build a chapel. I don't know what the procedures are. It's going to probably take years, but I absolutely want to build a little chapel on my land. And if all goes well, I'll even get a live-in priest. Make sure that we've got a priest on the chapel, build him a little. They don't need much, those guys. Proper priests don't need much. And he can help in the field too. Priests are not shy of work. They'll do that. You've got a priest living on your land. See, you've got mass ready-made. I don't have to travel too far. Other people can come to it. It builds a community. So that's the plan. But first I got to get my shit in order, and then I got to make sure that I'm earning enough to at least feed my family before I can think of those things. But there you go. Well, that's the plan. I think blacksmith human is better than peasant. Absolutely. But you'll find, Michael, that modern tools make blacksmithing pretty. I mean, like now, if we got a sharpening tool, we just take it to the little sharpening thing, just 2 minutes, and it's done. We go back out with the rusty machete again. Amanda says, I said I would love to garden in the hills in Italy, not catch bugs, although now that is sounding fun. Oh, good, good. Yes, yes, we believe in equality. The women can work in the field too. It's as far as that goes. But yeah. Now, to be fair, my wife's planted some stuff, and she's done that all by herself with a baby strapped to her, which hats off to her. She's tough. She's a good girl, really. Sarah, is the Catholic priestly celibacy what drives the grooming problem in the church? No, no, Sarah. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you're a normal man that chooses to become a priest, you don't suddenly become a pedophile. Just like if you're a normal man who suddenly has to live on an island where there's no women, you don't start fucking kids. Or goats for that matter. No, pedophiles are pedophiles. The Novus Ordo Church is composed of satanic pedophiles. They're Freemasons. They're not Catholic of any shape or form. They are freaky freaks and Satanists, Freemasons, homosexuals, and perverts. That is what the Novus Ordo Church is. Being celibate doesn't make you a pederast. Being celibate doesn't turn you into a pederast. It just means you're celibate. The Novus Ordo Church grooms because it worships Moloch. Exactly. Titty salad. Oh, one of the main gammas is here today. I would much rather attend your chapel than Bertaria. Well, given that if I'm not mistaken, you're a tranny, Titty, I don't know that you would be allowed in the chapel. But I appreciate the sentiment, And if you go back to your original sex and repent, I'm sure that you would be easily accepted. Saramer, was it not an issue pre-Vatican II, Woolly Ram? It was insofar as the church was already infiltrated. You've got to keep in mind that Vatican II was the culmination of a couple of centuries of infiltration. So there obviously was Freemasons already doing that shit in the church, but it wasn't really a major issue long before that. And there are examples of Catholic communities where a priest did fiddle a kid, and that priest was taken out by the men of that community that just brought him out to a swamp and drowned him in a bog and disappeared him. And that's what used to happen in the old days in Catholic villages. If a priest behaved in that way, that priest would disappear, and no one would get arrested for it. Exactly. Woolly Ram says a normal man made celibate does not suddenly find himself afflicted with pederasty. Such an inclination comes from trauma or deeply evil will. Indeed. David Perkins, I don't know what church you belong to, but there's a pretty bad issue with predators in the American churches. Oh yeah, it's at least as bad, if not worse. Titty Santa said, oh thanks, a much warmer reception than I was anticipating. Well, you see, Titty, the thing is, we're all sinners. Your sin is just a bit worse than many others, but, Catholic Church has accepted all sorts of people in it. Catholic Church has accepted the worst people in it. They have to genuinely repent and stop sinning. In extremis, the Catholic Church, a priest cannot, say you get a child rapist who truly repents in confession, truly repents and will never do it again and blah, 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 blah. The Catholic Church will accept him. Now, it is also true that somebody who does that and confesses to the priest that he's done that, a good Catholic priest will tell him, right, you now have to own up to your sin and take your punishment. And if that's the death penalty, so be it. However, you will have been forgiven and you will be part of the Catholic Church. And I'll give you last rites if, you have to be decapitated or burnt at the stake or whatever for being a pederast, then that's your punishment. But at least you will be within the Catholic Church when you die. You'll go to purgatory and not hell. So everybody gets accepted as long as you repent and confess and atone as best you can. Ganji Bob Flankis says, I missed a lot. Will watch tomorrow. Just dropping in so the video is in my history. Oh, okay. Michael Pecker, I don't understand why someone would worship the evil one. Even atheism is more logical. Yeah, lots of reasons. They don't really believe all that shit. Short-term gain. They're just evil. And God lets people have free will. So the reprobates, he allows them to give themselves over to their own reprobate mind. And Titi Salad here can fill you in more into that aspect of it, I guess. Murder all the pedos. No. Murder is wrong. Killing. See, murder is a mistake at best. But killing is necessary sometimes. It has to be a proper process. There has to be a trial. There has to be, as best one can achieve, certainty of guilt and so on. But yes, I'm all for burning pedos at the stake. In the Kurganet, that would be the punishment for it, certainly. If celibacy, LS16 says, if celibacy makes pedos, where are all the celibate public school teachers and Hollywood actors? Yeah, exactly. Dicimus Maximus says, do you think the evil elites that we live under in the West are genuine Satanists, or is that baseless rumor? They have any predilections for cultish behavior? Yeah, I absolutely believe that the vast majority of them are absolutely Satanists, intentional, knowing, conscious Satanists. Absolutely. Just look at the ceremony that was done at Davos for the opening of the Swiss tunnel or something. It's on YouTube. Just you look at that and tell me that that's not ritualistic satanic shit. Or look at Marina Abramovic and the spirit cooking videos that she did. And look at who the people in the crowd are that go to the spirit cooking videos. And then go and look up what spirit cooking is. And, she is one of she was in that latest advert for Bill Gates' latest VR set, virtual reality headset for Microsoft. So, with true religion lacking cultish behavior as a natural outcome. Well, the thing is, as the most loyal henchman pointed out, Satanism, is possibly even older than Christianity, because Satan got kicked out of heaven before humans were created, I think, or around the same time. So before Christianity as such existed, there were already people siding with Satan, right? That's the snake in the garden. He was already there when Adam and Eve just got built. So Satanism, to a certain extent, and a third of the host went with him. So Satanism, you could say, is even older than Christianity as a religion. And what the most loyal henchman pointed out, which is a very, very good observation, is that Satanism was always there from the beginning. And it was out in the open. I mean, they used to burn children in these braziers to Moloch and so on. Absolutely evil shit. And it was practiced in open air. It was only as a result of Jesus coming to earth that, Jesus incarnating, that made Satanism go underground and have to lie and hide. That's it's a very good observation and very correct observation. Some of the elites truly do think there will be kings in hell. Yeah, that's pretty much my take on it. But all right, it is late. I am tired. So I'm going to say good night. Thank you all again for putting up with the little break that when it drops for a couple of minutes. And yeah, I hope I've answered Roman 12:2's question. And good night all. Have a good evening.